Hold on a second.
It's one of America's most famous tracks, instantly recognizable to millions and millions around the world. Round 9 of the ChampCar iRacing series takes us to California's Laguna Seca, famous for many a championship decider, many a great pass, and of course the iconic corkscrew corner where cars plunge across the apex in the middle of the lap here. For round 9 though, we're here in the Volkswagen Jetta front-wheel drive diesel. Championship points are on the line. Of course, in the ChampCar iRacing series, 16 rounds in this season and some interesting prizes on the line as well. Our series champion getting $1,500 of ChampCar credit to put towards a drive in real-world road endurance racing in 2023, and another equally valuable prize being drawn randomly for one of our season-long participants who completes at least 12 rounds. Those are two very, very attractive prizes, both the sim racers looking to go real racing and our ChampCar members looking to race against each other every round here on the sim, and maybe get a little boost to what racing they can get done next year. So for this round's coverage here on HJBC, as usual, I'm David Haynes. I'm joined by Devin Peters, and Michael Derby is behind the scenes with the cameras. Devin, what can you tell us about the 1 hour race coming up? Qualifying underway at the moment. It is a great track, and it's an interesting car.
Oh, well, you went and said it there. It's an exciting race today because I have a feeling that we might see our very first race time, or our very first race winner here today, because none of the drivers that have a race win in the series have made it out for today's race so far. And I'm looking at this grid up and down and seeing a lot of competition and a lot of new names and fresh faces today. So it will be very interesting to see who manages to pull this one out today.
Well, let's look then at that qualifying, because it's an hour session and there's a handful of minutes left in it. Beautiful sunshine still beating down on our field of front-wheel drive Volkswagen Jettas, and it's Ian Gabler on pole. You're looking at him there, and Andrew Kosick and Tim Wire, our top three, all of them Club Ohio drivers as well.
Big Club Ohio gang out today, and pretty close times from that front three as well. 38.5, 5, and 7 for Tim Wire. And I was just looking through their fastest laps. These guys are all pushing to the limit to make that 38.5. I think Tim has only put in 2 clean laps, and Gabler's got about 4. So these guys are really looking for every last bit of track to try and make those lap times happen right now.
We always see that every round that we have the Volkswagen Jetta for, that it's always so close, isn't it? In the qualifying, in the racing too, very, very close, because it's so easy to get 99% of the pace out of this car. It's so tough to get that 100%. It's a car that really tempts you to push over the limit, and you've got to drive it smoothly. And Tim Wire, I think, has gone over the limit a couple times there, trying to improve in the final sector as you sort of descend downhill from the highest point of the circuit at the top of the corkscrew, sort of down towards where the pit straight is, and then even further down, I think, towards the Andretti hairpin, technically turns 2 and 3. I think, talking about the car and the circuit, let's have a quick look over then at the championship schedule. We are at round 9 of 16. Last time out, more than a month ago, in Canada with the Ford Mustang FR500S at Montreal, back in the Volkswagen Jetta. The other 2 cars that we're going to see and have seen already in this championship, that 3rd generation Mazda Miata NC, and also the Pontiac Solstice, which is going to get its next run there, round 12 at Mid-Ohio. So we've got VIR Full coming up later on in the month, Circuit of the Americas in August and Mid-Ohio. Then in September, it's Road America with that Miata NC, Pontiac Solstice, as we make a trip back to Canada at Mosport Park. The season closes out with VIR North in the Jetta and a 2-hour enduro at Sebring in the Ford Mustang. I was at Sebring for the recent ChampCar round, and there was at least one Ford Mustang getting around there as well. So we strive for realism.
I'm excited to hear your reports about the facilities on the ground when we get there. I'll give you my in-depth report when we're at Noseport there. And we're just seeing some beautiful liveries, I gotta say, today.
Stop. Stop. Yeah, always interesting liveries up and down the field as we get the different cars. Some drivers, seem to run one paint for one car and something different for the other. We've got teammates, real world ChampCar teammates here as well, with John Wilding and who was in the other one?
Jordan Butler.
Jordan Butler. So they're working together out on track there. They work together at the track.
And they both are big Haynes fans, I'd gotta say.
Isn't everyone?
Well, no, let's not get ahead of ourselves. They're looking for a draft here by the looks of things, but this is a car that doesn't seem to have much of a draft most of the time when we're driving, and that's reflected, of course, by Wilding not managing to improve upon his lap time that time by.
So about the track conditions then, 7 p.m. locally. We'll get the Fahrenheit numbers at some point, but it's not particularly hot track. In fact, it's quite cool, and that seems to be something that I think favors this car, because at the hotter circuits and the hotter tracks and temperatures, the tire pressures get bordering on insane for this car. A lot of heat into those front tires. They pressure up really high, and if you can keep the front tires cool, there seems to be performance to be gained there.
Yeah, these things are the most spec cars that you can get. All the original interiors inside of them. I think a bolt-in roll cage, if that, and just some stock tires on them as well. So, not too far off from an entry-level Champ car, for being honest. Though these things have even less setup adjustment than most of those do.
Change at the top of the order then in qualifying, because the last lap for Andrew Kosick put him to the front. A 138.508 was enough to eclipse Ian Gabler's time by 0.05 of a second. In fact, your whole top three on the grid in the 138.5s, it's just a matter of less than 1/10 of a second, Kosick to Gabler to John Wilding. So a slipstream doesn't have to be worth much for it to be worth a couple positions potentially.
Yeah, and we're seeing the truth of this car. I mean, that last 1/10 of a percent is really what separates the guys at the front of the field, and they're doing it right now.
What about the duo here? Wilding trying to get towed around, hoping that he'll find an improvement. One good thing for Laguna Seca, I think, in this qualifying session is it's a shorter, smaller lap than some of the other circuits we go to. I mean, you think about Sebring, Road America, really long laps. In fact, the same true of the Daytona Road Course and COTA later in the season. When there's only a couple minutes left in the session, you still got a chance of a couple attempts at a lap and an improvement here.
Yeah, if these guys keep it up, they'll have 2 shots. Looks like it'll be commentator's curse coming into effect immediately, of course. Jordan Butler goes flying off the track. But John Wilding here will be appreciating the tow he got through the bottom, of course. And you can see just barely hooks the inside tire on the bottom of the corkscrew there. Can't go all 4 off, but you can go 2 off at the bottom and have your lap still count.
I pulled up some slightly more in-depth timing, and I don't see any green sectors so far on this one for John Wilding. He's just fractionally missing in all of the 5 mini sectors that I'm able to read, so not quite on track for an improvement. And I think that's reflected. I think that's reflected in how he chooses to end his qualifying session. A couple of drivers I have seen that well, of course it's going to be green sectors for Jonathan Patterson, number 12, who doesn't have a time on the board yet, but he's trucking around to maybe be able to stick a time to the board before the end of this session. With less than a minute left, drivers who cross the line are going to be able to finish their flying laps, provided they started them on time.
Yeah. I'm watching Gabler as he comes into the final turn here on his last lap.
Oh, I think he'll get one more after this because 20 seconds to get to the line for Gabler. So no green sectors yet for him in the 404. And he crosses the line, and that was about 3 seconds missing, but he might be just setting up for his final chance in his final attack. Track temperature has dropped maybe another degree Fahrenheit or so, but I think unlike some of the other cars where the longer you go on and you start burning fuel, you get quicker in the qualifying session. I think you'd really have to back it off, really cool the tyres to then be able to ramp up for another attempt. So is that maybe what Gabler was aiming for? Jonathan Patterson did get a time that worked, a 1 minute 41, so moves himself up into 19th. Anyone else with green sectors? Not that I see yet. 2 tenths missing in the first for Gabler, then another 2 missing in sector 2, and he's got 3 more sectors to go as well with the 5 that are measured on my timing screen. So Kosick nabbed it from him late in the session, and I don't think Gabler's got a chance to respond at this point. Checkered flag waving. Everyone on a lap is going to get to complete it. That means Gabler, Lee Mullerman, Charles Kowalczyk, and Jonathan Patterson, I think, still out there.
Yeah, that's all I'm seeing too. Going back to what you were saying about the fuel load in these cars, of course, diesel, and infamously fuel efficient, these things. So the fuel load is really, really minimal when they go racing. I want to say something like 2 gallons of fuel required for the entirety of our hour today.
The checkered flag waves for Ian Gabler, held provisional pole and is not able to reclaim it. Did he?
He did a little drift there in the last corner for us. I don't think it was very fast, but it was very entertaining.
Jonathan Patterson also took the checkered flag for just a subtle improvement in time, but no improvement in position.
Yeah, Kowalczyk comes across the line to close off the session, and he wasn't able to improve either. No clean lap for him, even though he did have a lot of green sectors there.
Yeah, so that's almost everyone, not far away from gridding up for our 1 hour race. Everyone starts the race on the same setup. Not like there's many options in this car regardless, but that does mean, like you say, everyone starts with about 2 gallons or so and is going to have to pit at some point in the 1 hour race because of that. Otherwise, a full tank in these cars goes for 2 to 3 hours. Incredibly economical they are. That is the end of qualifying. We begin to grid for the race. Let's look over that grid then as they get ready for the formation lap. It's Andrew Kosick and Ian Gabler as our front row. The next row then John Wilding and Tim Wire. Got Jay Safianek and Jordan Butler on row 3. Row 4 is Nick Love, Kyle Robertson. And then our top 10, Sean Saputra and John Hurley. Some very familiar names all the way through the top 10 there.
Mm-hmm. But not quite where you'd expect them. I would have, if I was betting before the qualifying session, I would have put Nick Love a little higher up. I would have put John Hurley a little higher up. These are guys that have shown some good pace in the past, but I mean, that's not to take anything away from Gabler and Kosick, who've shown pretty strongly in other races as well. Continuing on, in 11th, we got Orlando Harrell, and 12th, Darren McNeil. 13th, we got Jared Cubitt and David Warden in 14th. Patrick Pursley in 15th and David Palermo in 16th. Lee Muleman and Charles Kowalczyk in 17th and 18th. Jonathan Patterson in 19th. Aaron Thorpe in 20th. David Tamira in 21st. Alan Wells, 22nd. And rounding out our 23-card field today is Brian Edwards.
Everyone on the grid set a qualifying time in the session, and you look backwards from pole position, which is a 138.5. Well, that gets you all the way down to 10th place within 1 second. Another further second to 140.5 includes the whole, top 18 on the grid there. So again, compared to some of the other cars we see that are maybe trickier to get towards the performance pinnacle, Thinking about the Miata, the Mustang, even the Solstice, it's always very, very close in the Volkswagen Jetta. People don't necessarily enjoy the driving experience with the front-wheel drive diesel as much as they do, for example, that rear-wheel drive V8 Ford Mustang. But what it does give us is good racing, and you can guarantee you'll be close to someone, and you'll need to use your wile and your smarts and your strategy and your racecraft more than just your hot lap talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Mistakes tend to be easily caught. And so really positioning yourself well and planning a few quarters in advance is what I tend to think you need to be doing if you want to get ahead in this car.
The pit window incredibly broad. You could pit at the end of lap 1, fuel and get to the end, and the tyre drop off, apart from the temperature, almost non-existent. So it will be about managing the temperature in the tyres with a very, very broad pit window.
Yeah. No incident limit in this series, but one fast repair available. So if something goes terribly wrong for you on lap 1, you can use it then. But you gotta be on your toes for the remaining 59 minutes of the race.
And a tough pit in and pit exit here. I mean, it's a very, very tight hairpin at the pit entry. We saw a couple of people in practice get caught out by that. Famously, Romain Grosjean has been caught out by that. And then the pit exit too. You know, you come downhill. It's a tight, narrow hairpin with dirt on either side as well. And if you get that wrong, I think you do get a penalty for an unsafe pit exit. So you've got to keep it on the paved stuff on the long pit exit as well.
Yep. And they're going 2x2 through the corkscrew this time. We'll see how many of them are brave enough to do it next time.
From far enough away, bravery and stupidity often look very, very similar.
But in slow motion, it's easy.
Yeah, exactly. So penultimate corner then, pace car going to pull in very shortly. Andrew Kosick, pole sitter for most mint, has control of the field. Ian Gabler very close around his outside, and we've got two very beautiful columns. Through the final corner, Gabler hangs back a little bit further, and I think Andrew Kosick takes that as his opportunity to go. You won't hear the revs rise. These are very quiet cars with their stock mufflers as well, revving to about 4,000 RPM, maybe even a little less at times. So Kosick leads the way down into the first braking zone at the Andretti hairpin.
If the McMansions in the area of Laguna Seca have their way, that's how all the races are going to sound one day.
Indeed. A little bit off the track there for John Wilding, but front-wheel drive, you can just keep the boot in it, pull it back onto the circuit. Kosick converts pole into a lead. Gabler sits in a second, and your top couple cars all in a line. Jordan Butler got the jump on Jay Safianek. Other than that, not much movement initially in the top 10.
Yeah, outside the top 10, I'm seeing Patrick Pursley already making a few moves, scraping by David Palermo and Jared Cubitt on the way into turn 1. He's up to 15th now. And they're filing into that one line that this car tends to prefer. It's, taking notes from F1, go quieter motors and hard to race side by side. We see a little bit of sketchiness there. That was Sean Saputcher getting real loose through the kink.
Oh, and I think, is that Cubitt who's found the wall, or is it David Palermo?
Thinking
I think David Palermo through turn 8 caught a bit too much of it, got loose, and has found the barrier. This is a very, very tanky car that can keep going with a bit of damage on it, but that's not optimal and costs you a lot of time early on.
Yeah, you hate to lose contact with the pack this early, but easy enough to do. Get that rear end into the sand and hard to catch it. But like you said, these things are pretty durable. I think he'll be going just as fast as before after that impact.
So back up front, a lap completed already for round 9 of the ChampCar iRacing Series. Kosick with 6/10 over Ian Gabler, John Wilding, Tim Wire, Jordan Butler, 5-car train initially. Kosick hopping a little bit of the curb there at the hairpin, and I think that has let Gabler get a little bit closer.
Yeah, got to be careful. Those red sausage curbs would be a threat for these cars. Very stiffly sprung and very overdamped. So you just bounce once they get going. But costs you some time for the most part. But once in a while, it costs you the whole car.
Butler finding out that when you dip the outside tyres into the dirt in the front-wheel drive car, it just wants to pull you further into the dirt, and you've got to get out of the throttle. That cost him a bit of time. From our top four, they'll navigate their way through that very quick, committed, little unsighted turn 8, and then up the hill, where you're praying for all the torque you can get. Then into, again, a slightly unsighted braking zone, into the corkscrew. Kosick runs it very deep in there. Gabler, a better line. Gabler through into the leaders. Kosick's off the circuit, tags the tyre barrier, and that's all from just braking a little bit too late into the corkscrew. Position's lost. Car will probably continue on without too much damage. These things are strong. The lead is gone from Andrew Kosick to Ian Gabler.
I don't even know if the bumper got popped in on that one. It was a good recovery from Kosick, but a costly mistake. It takes him all the way down to 5th.
And now it's as close as you like for the lead. I think Tim Wire, front bumper, a little nudge to John Wilding's little rear bumper, now in second place and only a couple car lengths to Gabler as they come down the hill into a braking zone that can trick you into going a bit deep. Do you take both apexes? Do you take the second apex? Everyone looking like they want that second apex so they can brake deep, square it off, and get that front-wheel drive traction.
And Gabler's gone and I think exactly tied his qualifying lap that time by. So he's on it for sure.
Well, cool tyres that have just come into their window by about lap 2 or 3. A cooling track. I think we're going to see almost close to a sunset, or at least some very long shadows at the end of this one.
Gotta think so. 7:20 sim time. Don't know when the sun sets in the valley on a day like today, but we'll find out, I'm sure.
Sunsets over the water on the west coast as well, doesn't it?
Coming up the hill, we're seeing that top 4 get a little bit more spread out, but it's dragging Kosick back up into the picture. From his mistake, he's already back on the rear bumper of Jordan Butler and challenging that Haynes liveried car.
Butler has been struggling with some of the exits and dicking up some of the dirt. Did it again at turn 8. Remember, he did it earlier on the lap as well. So the pressure maybe getting to him a little bit of trying to keep in touch with this top 3, and with the pole sitter then starting to breathe down his neck again.
I gotta imagine these guys are a little bit feeling a little bit of the pressure. Some of the big names from the series, some of the regulars haven't showed up tonight. They're out racing or vacationing or whatever themselves in the real world, and it's left the
moving house. I've heard is what Mr. McCormick is up to.
Good excuses all around. Gabler goes even faster that time, 38.2. Needed to find that pace during the race or during qualifying. Of course, a little bit easier to do when you're not disqualified or losing the lap for putting 4 tires off.
Other battles further back, though, I can see just a couple tenths between Hurley and Robertson.
Sofianek, get over to Sofianek and Kowalczyk just there. Sofianek slammed the door so hard on the exit 4 there, that or 5, sorry, that Kowalczyk tapped him, and then both of them stayed to the left-hand side with the entry into 7, and Kowalczyk was able to keep it on the track.
Sofianek got a bit of a problem. He started this lap a lot higher up. He's losing positions. Mullerman's gone past. Jared Cubitt's gone past him.
Yeah, I think he
just left damage.
He really cooked the front. It might have been front left damage because he overshot it into 1 and then took a shot from. It looks like that was Orlando Harrell as he went by, right on the left front. I think you're right, and I think he's having a hard time getting that car to churn.
Is he going to have a hard time getting it to churn through the pit entry here? Very tight, slows it down, and still only just enough turning circle. He's one of the first cars, in fact, the first car to pit lane. Like you said, Devin, he's got a fast repair. He'll be able to pop that out very quickly. He'll be able to add the gallon or 2 of diesel necessary to get him to the end of this race. Not necessarily a disaster if Sofianek chooses to persevere with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I could use some quick repairs on tie rod ends in the real car, but this should be an easy fix for him. And like you said, a gallon of fuel, and he'll be back on the track.
The only issue, though, they add that gallon of fuel with what feels like an eyedropper, so he's gone for some tyres here at the same time.
He was locking him up pretty hard in the braking zone, so maybe he's overheated and decided he needs something a little cooler on the car. Big
New front
beneficiary.
tyres, not a bad idea, to be honest. New front tyres, I think.
Big beneficiary of that, I'd say, is Charles Kowalczyk, who's already up 8 spots on the grid today. That's from 18th place starting up to 10th place. And Kowalczyk is watching as Orlando Harrell, John Hurley, and Kyle Robertson have the battle of a lifetime through the kink. I gotta say, they were 3 wide, it looked like, on the entry that time by. And Hurley's got to put a few tires off as well.
Yeah, Robertson's past Hurley. Hurley's a little wide there, and Harrell might be next to shape up here.
We'll see which way it goes. Hurley's made some early progress, but he's fighting now for his positions.
Always like this. There are always a couple cars in proximity when we race with the Volkswagen Jetta.
Yeah, I'd say there's more than a few. My timing screen's lit up with battles right now.
Christmas in July on Devon's timing screen. Including, we got to check back with the leaders. Gabler not able to break away, half a second from John Wilding, and at these speeds, half a second doesn't look like that much of a distance. Tim Wire still lurking, looming. I think if you can stay close without overheating your front tires, that could be the way to go, because you've seen some of the pressures and temperature measurements after, a long stint. Wilding and Wire both playing in the sand. I think Wire's shaping up to look for second here. It's forcing Wilding to look the other way. Down the inside at the corkscrew. Textbook move. Tim Wire through into second. It does let Gabler get a little bit further away, though.
Yeah, and respectful racing from Wilding there, too. He saw the move coming, didn't push the issue, recognizing there's 50 minutes left in the race and a lot still to play for.
I think I've seen numbers as ridiculous as 40, 50 PSI from the front tires once they're hot, and temperatures genuinely, hot enough to fry an egg.
Oh yeah. I've seen 3 figures on that PSI dial before coming out of this thing. Granted, it was after some burnouts at the end of the race, but they get plenty hot. That's for sure.
It's one thing you've got to think about, got to consider managing.
Ooh, Wire got it a little bit wrong that time, through 4. Gathers it up though. Not too much time lost, but he's going to have to push. He wants to reconnect with Ian Gabler here. You really kind of see the difference between that qualifying pace, how fast can you be and keep it all 4 on track, versus your race pace, where these guys are kicking up sand and dirt through half the corners on the track at this point.
Absolutely. Battle for second back on. Ian Gabler at the lead, enjoys the biggest lead anyone's had all race long. There's a little bit more sandcastle building from Wire.
Yeah, he's not the first guy to go and venture out there. I'd almost wonder if there's maybe a bit of pace to be gained the way the car seems to dig in through there. Oh, I'm not sure there's much time to be gained there. I'm not sure there's pace to be gained there. I was really wide from Wire that time.
Also got a lot of that big red sausage curb at the apex as well. So what's Wilding going to do? He could look to the inside and decides against it. Brakes a little bit earlier, elects to keep the pressure on. He's got his teammate Jordan Butler settling in behind him as well.
I think Tim Wire's trying to find a little bit extra to get up to Ian Gabler there, but he's overdriving it more than he's finding extra pace right now.
Well, Devon 12, 13 minutes into the race, and on my timing screen, I can only see 5 battles. This one over second, Kosick and Nick Love, maybe a battle for the ages there. Kyle Robertson, John Hurley, and Orlando Herald still in the same order they were before. Lee Mullerman, Sean Saputra, Jared Kubik, Jonathan Patterson, and Aaron Thorpe, and I think David Worden were even battling each other early before as well. So everyone's got someone to worry about. I think second and third, though, almost bumper to bumper as they came through the corkscrew.
Yeah.
Wyatt's under a lot of pressure here.
Yeah, he made that move on Wilding, and despite the fact that there's not a lot of draft, it seems to have gone back to Wilding now that Wyre's ahead. So I don't know if that's just the draft or if that's Wyre feeling a little more comfortable chasing than he is leading. But either way, he's struggling a bit here when he really needs to be pushing forward Gabler.
Yeah, 2.5 seconds race lead for Ian Gabler at the moment.
Oh, and last time down into the last corner there, it looks like Nick Love took a spot away from Andrew Kosick as well, so that puts him up into the top 5. And Kosick, after qualifying on pole, back to 6th.
What movie is Nick Love's livery from?
The Blues Brothers.
Correct. So familiar look in the Volkswagen Jetta for Nick Love. Familiar look whatever car is in for most men, Andrew Kosick.
And he's got that one color scheme really nailed down.
Absolutely. Good lap last time then from Nick Love. Only a couple of drivers in those 138s. Love was one of them. Oh, but he's got a bad run through turn 8. Andrew Kosick looking down the inside of the corkscrew. We've seen this move on before. And Love breaks early and lives to fight another day. Tim Wyre has gone back into third. John Wilding's pulled that one off.
Yeah, Wilding did the same move as we just watched into the corkscrew this time, and we'll see if he's able to, now that he's ahead, drag this pack back up to Ian Gabler. Gabler driving off into the distance, though, consistently in the 38s. Like I said, consistency is key at this track and in this car, and he's using that to pad the gap ever more as he continues on in this race.
Wyre now in the level 1 sandwiched. Different lines as ever through that hairpin. It's got a couple for sure. Some people will hold it very tight between the 2 apexes. Sometimes you really can get away with going in a bit deep, finding yourself in the middle of the corner and picking up the final apex.
And these things like leap like they're V8 supercars over their sausage curve sometimes, especially when they strike it at the right angle in turn 4 there.
And when they do, they look like they've blown a shock because they don't land. They just bounce. You think this is the time for Jordan Butler to try to strike, try to stay with his teammate? Wyre runs it a little wide off the exit, but Butler not close enough.
We'll see if Wyre keeps driving a little bit scruffy like he has been through the last few laps. Then I wouldn't be surprised to see Butler try and make a move. I mean, he's got to get a move on if Andrew Kosick's going to be right behind him, and I know Andrew Kosick behind him. Kosick taking the spot back from Nick Love last time through. It looks like turn number 1, I think, something like that. Nope, it was the corkscrew. We watched that pass. Never mind.
I thought you were gaslighting me for a second. I was like, didn't we watch that one? But it's all closing up over second place, and as it does, Ian Gabler is getting away a little bit. What about that last lap from Wilding, 39.1? Still let Gabler extend his advantage by 0.2. The thing is, we're looking at Gabler, building this gap. It goes from 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds to 4 seconds. That is the kind of lead that looks great out on track, but could get erased in the snap of a finger on pit lane.
Well, pit lane or turn 8. I mean, that corner at the bottom of the hill is so committed that it's very easy to lose a lot of time just by clipping a little too much of that sausage curve. And these cars, front wheel drive, say what you will, I love me some front wheel drive racing, but these things only revving out to about 4,000 RPM. It's not exactly white knuckle racing a lot of times when you're in it. And so keeping focused is really kind of important in these cars when your attention could be slipping elsewhere. And so Gabler, he's been very clean so far. He'll need to keep that up.
You could watch them plunge through the corkscrew all day, every single lap, every single car, and you'd not quite get tired of it by the end of the hour. Beautiful sunset hues on the track there as well.
I'm looking around through the field. Noticing John Hurley and Orlando Harrell are looking a little bit racy, back in 9th and 10th place. Harrell, of course, had that little battle earlier on with, I believe it was Palermo and he that were kind of close together, and now Harrell's in position to have a run on Hurley as they come up the hill. Not much of a draft, but you're seeing all of it.
He shapes for it. Does he trick Hurley into going a little bit too deep potentially and look to get underneath? I think he does, and he gets that red curb himself. Good racecraft and gamesmanship there, but he just didn't execute that one quite right. Might have been looking at where the other car was, not at where the apex was.
Yeah, and he manages to get that thing all up on the nose and actually lock up the right rear there a little bit on the way into the corner. Kind of hard to do in these things.
Again, he's just looking around, trying to make the other guy break deep, and then taking a late apex himself. I mean, this vast corner here, it's where you've got to be precise, because like you say, you hit that red curb at the apex, you're in trouble. But if you're half a car width wide, you don't get that great camber and carry the great speed through there. So if you're confident and committed and precise, you can carry a lot more speed through there than someone who, hesitates a little bit or overcommits and gets that red curb.
Well,
Bottom of the corkscrew, and there's not a car width or a car length to put between them.
Yeah, and Orlando's holding that overlap, still got the run. Doesn't manage to get down to the apex, though, to really get use out of it as he's chasing down Hurley here into the final corner. And both of them pretty clean through there, but I think Hurley got the better exit. But yeah, to your point about turn 8 there, it's also a risk in these cars, because in most cars, if you put 2 tires off, you can kind of recover it. You lose a little bit, but these ones, because they're front wheel drive, they're trying to pull themselves off. That tire's unloaded. Hurley takes that really deep diamondy line again, and Harrell up the inside. And if he tracks out a little bit more there, I think he's got a really good run on Hurley. Glued to his bumper now.
Yeah, I agree. If Harrell can just get that line off the corner, he's a chance. Unconventional little look here, but it's a long left-hander, and then it would give you the inside at that ever-committed turn 8 again. So they overlap. How's the drive off? It's going to be absolutely side-by-side, and you struggle to go 2 cars too wide through here. I thought Harrell would have been far enough along that he should have committed to that one, but he wants to see this race out and not do anything silly.
Yeah, and I can respect that. I also, you always got to speculate when a guy's in that kind of position. Does he have triple monitors? Does he have VR goggles? Those are things that kind of give you an advantage when you're side-by-side racing in a situation like that, especially in a really committed, high-risk corner. Harrell might just be thinking, hey, I've got more pace than him. I can do it somewhere else, and I can do it safer.
I think his line through a couple of these corners might suggest he's not confident in knowing where the other car is alongside him through turn 2 and through there as well. I think both of them point to he's got awareness of where the track is, but not necessarily awareness of where the other car is. As they go on, Charles Kowalczyk, of course, been catching them the way they've been battling each other and trying to outbrake each other.
Yeah, and eagle-eyed looking at our timing screens will have noticed that Tim Wires actually dropped off the podium after some of the battling that we were seeing earlier on as well. Wire looks like he got himself a slowdown going into the corkscrew last time by, and Cossack and Butler were both quick to overtake, and now Butler's got to make a big mistake on the way into 7. That's given Cossack the run. He covers it off, and looks like Cossack's not going to have any overlap. But yeah, this battle's getting hot, and Cossack's trying to fight his way back towards the front. Last time by, this whole group was faster than Ian Gabler at the front. Oh! Cossack gets it all kinds of wrong, but he gathers it back up on the way in.
Opportunistic little look from Wire there, but you can do it if you get a good run off the corkscrew, but then it's going to see him wrong-footed for the next one. Lets Butler get away a little bit, and Nick Love is just watching, waiting, expecting chaos to ensue. A couple corners side by side. And finally, I think Wire has the right positioning. Cossack will not give up on it.
On a good run from Nick Love that time, too. Yeah, and Wire just kind of misses the run on the exit. Must have been a little too tight. But that puts Nick Love up into 5th now as they cross the line. And all this battling's actually let John Wilding get away a little bit, and Jordan Butler too. Cossack and Love and Wire side by side through the corner that time. Third time's the charm. Wire's not going to let this one go away easy.
They start to sort themselves out somewhat. And shake out into a running order.
And as we looked away there, of course, we missed the action between Orlando Harrell and Charles Kowalczyk. Kowalczyk's gone and gotten ahead of Harrell through, it looks like maybe turn 1. I think, yeah, it looks like it was turn 1 up the inside. Either way, that's created a little gap up the road to John Hurley. So Hurley will be breathing a little bit easier while Harrell tries to find his way back around Kowalczyk.
Well, it looked like earlier on that Kowalczyk was ranging up on both of them. Now he's past Harrell. I have a feeling like he might be able to catch Hurley.
Yeah, he seems to be getting more and more confident, and he definitely put in a lot of laps in qualifying, but didn't put in many clean ones. So I'm thinking that the difference between race pace and qualifying pace is showing its head again.
Did get to the bumper of Hurley over 8th place here. Hurley overdid the corkscrew a little bit.
Really clean lines from both of them through the last corner that time.
Saputra on the pit lane then. Second driver to take that. I was wondering if we were going to see maybe a rush on pit lane at about the halfway point of this race, given there's no real disadvantage to how much fuel you're carrying at any point, because there's not much of it to create any, weight and slow you down. And that run through pit lane can either give you some new tires or just cool off the set you've got, and that gives you a little bit of an undercut. So I think on pit strategy, there is an undercut to be had that should tempt people into pitting a little earlier if they think they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, if I was one of these guys in the big battle packs thinking I've got a little extra pace on the guys around me, I'd be tempted to go early for the undercut. You won't see a huge difference on the tires, but getting that pit stop done and out of the way might find you some clear track, especially if you get it done a little earlier.
About 20 seconds in the box then for Sean Saputra, who I met at Carolina Motorsports Park. Great to do my own little tour and meet a handful of the drivers that we see round after round here in the ChampCar iRacing series. So we're going to see, I think, in the next 10 minutes or so, is that a long stop, a short stop, or an average stop for Saputra at the moment? Your guess is as good as mine, I think.
Yeah, we'll have a good reference here as Nick Love enters the pit lane this time by.
Team strats from the Love Racing guys then?
It's a very good possibility. John
Nick Love was in a lot of that traffic as well. He was probably your prime candidate for maybe get out of that, see if you can get some clean air. What is he going to do? Fuel will be going in. Right-hand side up. How long is that in the air for?
Hurley and Kowalczyk in the lane as well. Same lap for the two of them.
Just right side for Nick Love, I think. He's approaching that about 20 seconds or so, and away he goes, about the same as Saputra.
And it looks like that's around the sweet spot. I wonder how many guys are going to be taking the tires versus not. We see Hurley taking tires. And
Longest stop for him, about 24 or 25 seconds.
yeah, and that gives up the spot to Charles Kowalczyk critically. But we'll see if those tires are worth it later in the stint. Or even right after the stop here.
Yeah, Darren McNeil Jr. also pitting on that lap. So we have 6 drivers now who've pitted. 23 were at the track. 21 took the start, and all 21 of those still running by virtue of how tanky this car is and that fast repair. But Nick Love all the way off the circuit on his outlap there. That's cost him.
Easy to do, though. Easy to do, especially when you're trying to push and get that little extra.
None of the guys he was racing have reacted to the strategy, though, because Gabler, Wilding, Butler, Kosick, Wire, even Kyle Robertson, none of them pitting just yet.
Yeah, and you know, the fact that they're all a little separated might have something to do with it, too. We're seeing Jared Cubitt come in now from 10th place, though that's in the pit cycle, and Jonathan Patterson as well. Nick Love will be glad to see the traffic in front of him cleared out of the way by virtue of those pit stops.
Look at the lap times then for those who've pitted. One of the first was Kowalczyk. We're just waiting on him to cross the line, and he has a 1:44.9. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's just the lap factoring in.
I think I meant to look at Saputra, who did a 39.7, which is reasonable, but guys up front are all 39 ones, etc. Gabler, Butler, doesn't look to be giving him a massive undercut advantage on anyone in the top 5, but it's still not a drop-off of pace at all.
Yeah, right close to his best, that's for sure.
Leader pits, Gabler's in, preempting what those behind him might be able to do. They all follow him in. Anyone can stay out, your whole top 5 in. So it'll be a race on pit lane.
And we'll be curious to see who's playing it tightest on the strategy, on the fuel. You know, getting that, you know, extra half gallon, extra gallon can be critical in terms of timing on something like this.
I'm watching them all. Gabler goes for the right-hand side tire. Looks
Wire.
like guys behind miss out.
Yeah, Wire overshot his pit box a little. That's going to cost him a half second or so. Not a lot of tires in the top 5.
No, I saw just a couple right sides happen for Gabler, Kosick, and one of our level 1 guys there. But Kosick, 15 seconds to 19 or so for everyone else. So he's jumped up just behind Gabler. What's going on here then?
Yeah, that's a confident call on the fuel strategy. We're seeing, for the most part, guys going about 5 seconds longer on the fuel than that, but it is possible that he's been saving a little bit, or that he's just done the math a little bit with a little bit less margin than the others. Either way, that's a pretty big change in terms of track position, because Gabler is suddenly right in his sights.
Interesting. So now only 3 cars yet to pit. Alan Wells, Kyle Robertson, Orlando Herrell. And our pit stop phase at about that halfway point, almost done for everyone, and it shakes out a slightly new order. It's going to look like Ian Gabler leading, only a second and a half ahead of Andrew Kosick, with the shortest pit stop of anyone, and convincingly. And then Wilding and Butler, the teammates together there in what's going to be 3rd and 4th. Nick Love, not a particularly effective undercut, I'd say.
Yeah, a little bit too little, too late. I'd have to think on that one. Not helped by, an average length pit stop. Ian Gabler.
Kosick loses a spot.
Missed that one. What happened?
Well, great question. Did he get a slowdown, or
that's what it looked like?
You can get one.
Yeah, it looks to me like he got the slowdown on the right
second
hander
apex of the corkscrew.
Yeah, at the bottom of the corkscrew, and that slowdown, you got to give it back more or less before the start finish line. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So he does, but it costs him a position, and critically, it costs him a gap to Ian Gabler. So Gabler's got to be feeling comfortable again.
Orlando Herald completes his stop. It sees him rejoin right back in battle again with behind John Hurley and with Sean Butler and Patrick Pursley. So battles reignite. All bar Alan Wells in 21st spot have pitted.
Yeah, this little battle between Butler, Harrell, and Pursley is going to be one that I think we'll be coming back to throughout this race. Seeing all three of these guys this close together. Especially
recapping the top 10 then, Ian Gabler from John Wilding, Andrew Cosick and Jordan Butler, one of the battles we're watching. Nick Love and Tim Wire, 5th and 6th, still within 10 seconds of the lead. I think a handful of guys have cut that second chicane, second apex of the corkscrew. I think Wilding and Cosick both doing it that time. And then Kyle Robertson, Charles Kowalczyk, John Hurley to 9th, and Orlando Herald trying to hold on to that final spot in the top 10. It's all happening over second place here, though. Giving up the slowdown. Jordan Butler is going to go from 4th through into 2nd because the two guys in front of him both got too greedy at the corkscrew.
It's so tough too, because the one of the quirks of the system is that if you keep those tires in the air over that apex, you don't get the cut. So there's some pace to be had there if you can get it just right, but a risky thing to do. And both of them paying the price. But the team cars will be happy because they're now running 2nd and 3rd.
And if he's on top of it, Ian Gabler will be pretty happy because his lead is suddenly back to what it looked like before the pit stops, closer to 4 seconds or so. Gabler definitely took at least one right-hand side tyre, and between Butler and Wilding, at least one of them skipped out on that.
Yeah. I think I agree with you on that one. I am curious though if these guys are going to figure out some spec Miata style hand signals and get everyone in line and get caught up, because that is quickly becoming their only hope if they want to have this race win. I don't know if Cossack's just pushing really hard, but his car really seems to be struggling around this track in a way the other guys aren't. It's almost low on grip.
Confused too. I definitely saw right-hand side of the car go up on the pit stop, so the same as what Gabler did, but now, as you say, well wide of that apex right there, struggling to keep in touch with Butler and Wilding, who now probably should be looking eyes forward. Butler way off the track. Can they bump draft each other up towards Ian Gabler potentially?
Maybe. We'll see it. Like I said earlier, the draft isn't particularly strong in this car, but keeping your foot in it through the dirt, apparently very strong, as Butler manages to hold on to 2nd place despite going, venturing on the exit of the last turn there.
Did I just hear Nick Love and Tim Wire exchange a body panel? I'm looking at Tim Wire, and I think that's absolutely the case. That nose, my goodness.
Yeah, hard to tell on Nick Love's car, but it does look like there's a bumper-shaped dent in the rear one there as well.
It's just a shame there's no one in California capable of doing a nose job.
That was me applauding.
Oh, okay. It sounded like you had 3 mosquitoes you needed to kill.
Something along those lines. John Wilding takes the spot back from Jordan Butler, though. That looked a little bit coordinated. Maybe a lift or a slowdown being paid back there by Jordan Butler. He did. No, I'm not sure where he would have gotten a slowdown there. I think he gave the spot up to the team car and let John Wilding by. Nick Love still struggling away behind him. Just really cannot seem to get that car turned right. And of course, by Nick Love, I mean Andrew Cosick. Just cannot get that car to turn right.
Gabler absolutely flying at the moment. Last lap, a 38.6. Is anyone else in the 138s? One man, Charles Kowalczyk, remember started 18th on the grid, now up into 8th. He's gotten around some of the battles he was in. He had a pretty tidy pit stop, and the rate he's going could still catch some in front, though Kyle Robertson manages at 38.8 that lap.
And critically, Gabler's been averaging a few tenths faster than the average in the top 10, though, so he's definitely padding that lead and making it look kind of easy up front right now for him. I have to get an engine check or engine tech to go and look at that Summit Racing sponsored car, you know.
Yeah, they'll be checking the bore post-race impound.
Yeah, make sure the valve covers are the right ones, you know.
You've got quite a slow steering rack in this car as well. You notice how many turns of the wheel are often required, particularly places like that hairpin early in the lap as well.
Tim Wire and Nick Love are real close together. Tim Wire and Love actually door banged through the second last turn. Now Wire's got the position going into the final turn. He completely hops the sausage curve, but leaves racing room on the outside for Love, and Love's got a little bit better of a run. But he's got the longer way down the front straight through turn 1 here and down into 2 at the bottom of the hill, and Wire and Love shaking back and forth at each other. Love really dives it in. Rolls that outside apex though. Can he get it pointed and going? Wire's got the short line. They're still side by side.
I rate that from Nick Love now. He's got the inside into the next segment of corners here where Wire tries to turn in and they swap paint on the other side of the car. You've got nose to tail, door to door either side, but Love is now ahead. Wire's coming back at him.
I was going to say, these guys aren't done yet. Wire decides to give it a little tap of the brakes and back out of it there, though. I think he wants to do his pass on the back half of the track. I think he's got a little bit more pace than Love there.
Some of the best passes I think we've seen so far today is when you just wait for the other guy to make a mistake here in turn 8 and get a better run up the hill, but both of them inch perfect up the hill towards the corkscrew.
Oh, no one making mistakes there. Nick Love gets a real nice run out of the corkscrew.
Sure looked about right, but again, you've got to be careful with that second apex, which you can't see until you've already turned into the corner, of course, to not cut that and get yourself a penalty, a little slowdown. Have to, feels like you gain 2 tenths and then have to give up 5 seconds.
Yeah. Helpfully in iRacing, the tree that you aim at as you're coming over the apex of the top of the corkscrew, it doesn't change. No growth between sessions. So luckily that keeps things, I think, a little bit easier for the simulator.
And you know who's been catching these two? Another great lap from Kyle Robertson. Have you got a 5-lap average or something? He feels like he's been taking half a second a lap out of these guys.
Oh, to the tune of about 3 tenths, he's been reeling them in.
Well, in this car, sure. 3 tenths feels like half a second.
I'll give you that. Time dilation, you know, real key feature of the Volkswagen Jetta.
My favorite new word in my vocabulary is gravitational lensing.
Yeah, we might be seeing some of that here.
Oh, more nose, more tail. Those two have been stamped and mated together before. The rear of Nick Love's car bears witness to the nose of Tim Wire, and Kyle Robertson a much better run, much better line. It's looking to get both of them. Scruffy line from Wire. Robertson wondering how on earth he can get around.
The factory showroom Jetta there, all unpainted, but going fast for Robertson right now. He's really found something in the last 2 laps here.
Ooh, inside of the final corner, they get close to a bit of contact, but that looks like Robertson in front.
Beautiful move and very clean, gotta say.
Wire still sniffing around. Robertson's going to have to defend this. Points it pretty direct to the first apex, keeps it tidy in the middle. He'll square it up off the exit. That's about as well as you'll do through the Andretti hairpin. Got to then think about trying to catch Nick Love for a top 5, potentially.
I'm watching Orlando Harrell and John Hurley as they get back to battling. Harrell and Hurley are side by side going through 4 there.
Yeah, in the sort of infield section here, Harrell's got the inside Hurley. Head of speed around the outside. Who's bearing down on the both of them? It's Sean Saputra.
Yeah, Saputra has had some good pace in recent times too, but he definitely benefited from the two of them battling and came up with a whole lot of momentum. He's getting checked up now as Harrell slams the door shut down straight away.
And we see this, you battle and suddenly the next car behind you is right on you, making it a 3-way fight here.
Yeah, pretty much the biggest way to lose time in this car is to spend a lot of time fighting, but it's at fighting time with 15 minutes left.
Good scrap here then over some of those spots inside the top 10.
Harrell, he's had a really good run through this last corner. We'll see if he's able to replicate it again this time. He's got a little bit of breathing room back to Saputra right now. Real clean from Hurley that time, though. No chance for Harrell.
And good news, Devon. Everyone who took the start of the race is still running at this point, and therefore have completed more than half race distance, unless Gabler really fits some afterburners, and all of them one race closer to having their name in the hat for effectively a free entry in the next ChampCar season 2023. $1,500 of ChampCar credit took you a long way to getting out on track or adding an extra race to your year.
And if you're a beginner in iRacing, I'd say that this is a great car to start in. If you want to join the series and come out and do some racing, excellent choice. And that's got to be what Darren McNeil's thinking. I'm watching him battle Jay Safianek from 14th and 15th place right now. First race that I can see on record for Darren McNeil joining us today.
Tell you what I can see, he's in the same room as all the Love Racing guys. Saputra, Love, Kowalczyk. So probably getting some good mentoring there as well. Here's Harrell looking down the inside of Hurley, up the hill towards the corkscrew. You've got to be really brave to pass here, and Harrell has struggled with that in past. Gets a good line to the first apex, will drop all the way through. They make contact. Hurley spins around, and he's going to have a slowdown. That's probably cleared by now, but Hurley just... Ooh.
That was a tough one. I mean, I think we already know that Harrell doesn't have the triple monitor as he's getting lined up here by Sean Saputra. Saputra's coming by real deep though, and Harrell makes the corner. He'll be taking that spot back, but yeah, you close the door. It's tough to say. I bet you Harrell might not have made that same move if he could have seen out his right side window.
From where I was looking, it looked okay, as clean a move as you can attempt through the corkscrew from Harrell. He kept it on track, and Hurley sort of skipped across the second apex.
Oh yeah,
there was a bit of radio chat back and forth between the two of them, and I think each apologized to the other, so that's sort of nicer than both of them throwing a curse at each other.
Yeah, well, and to be clear, I'm saying he might not have made the move because he has been so clean to this point that I think he would have done a little more to avoid contact if he knew really well where Hurley was. Still enjoying this
15th though, because you were talking about Darren McNeil Jr. and he's right in the thick of a battle here in his first ChampCar iRacing Series race between Safianek and Jared Cubitt, and I think he looks a bit quicker than Safianek potentially at this point.
Yeah, Safianek's got speed on some corners, but he's lacking a little bit in the consistency relative to McNeil, I'd say. But they're getting spicy as they're going into 6th there.
Now, look, when I said this was a short track, I didn't mean it was a short track. Just a little bump before the braking zone there to Sophia Neck. Definitely will know that Darren McNeil's there.
And both, like all three of these drivers here, that's Jared Cubitt we're seeing just tagged onto the back of this battle in the second green car. All three of them doing a really good job with the car, keeping it smooth in this thing, which is really critical for making lap time. I'd say these things almost have more in common with the Briggs kart than most sedans, just with the way they drive, so stiff and so momentum dependent.
Again, that's one of the things that not everyone's a fan of this Volkswagen Jetta. We know that, not least US regulators. But these are guys that maybe in another car, they might find themselves a little off the pace and all alone for 60 minutes. But in the Jetta,
Cut. Nick Love and Kyle Robertson are having a battle of a lifetime here for 5th and 6th place. Kyle Robertson just made a heck of a move through the corkscrew and slammed the door shut going through the big bend afterwards. Nick Love, he's going to be smarting from that one, but that was real nice racing from Robertson. I don't think they actually made contact, as brutal as that was.
we had the replay on it.
And really well done.
Around the outside rear, Robertson sort of made it work, and then at the elbows and the quarter panels out afterwards.
And that was a ruthless move from Robertson. I gotta say, that time that was real nice. But he's still showing off some of that pace that we were talking about earlier. He's despite the battling, he's still running faster than everyone but the leader at this point in the race. Over the last 5 laps, anyway.
When we looked away, Darren McNeil Jr. did get ahead of Sophia Neck, and I think Sophia Neck had a problem there. He's dropped a bit further back.
Yeah, I actually think McNeil might have had a helping hand in that one. He may not have made contact. Sophia Neck took it all 4 tires off on the exit of 7, and that's a bit of a death sentence in these things. As McNeil was coming by, he definitely didn't leave a gap to the spinning car, but I don't think I heard any contact between the two of them. So, we'll have to check the bumper for scuffs after this one. Watch him come through just after the apex on the exit. I think there was no contact there.
I think Sophia Neck might have just been in trouble before.
Either way, though, it looks like McNeil's going to have to fend off a bit of a charge from Cubitt here as Cubitt comes flying towards him in the braking zone for 6th. Oh, real nice though. Like we were talking about the rookies in this series and this being a good starting point. This really underlines there is someone to battle with for everyone in this series. It's such a wide range of skills. We've got some real aliens at the front and some some beginners, some experienced guys, some folks that are new to sim racing but experienced on the real track and vice versa. It's a really good time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's 9 minutes to go, probably 6 laps. Gabler's lead has just stabilized and even shrunk a tiny bit at 4.5 seconds. Now Wilding and Butler have been able to settle themselves down, work together, and match the pace, if not close this gap.
Yeah, they're right on pace. The Gabler, they're going to be hard-pressed to find the time they need in the next 8 minutes, though. But I'm watching Kyle Robertson and Nick Love because those two have closed back up together, and they are neck and neck with Tim Wire not too far behind.
I'm sure Nick Love remembers what happened at the corkscrew a couple laps ago. Wire again, right with them. Did he cut a bit too much of that second apex? It's 3 Jettas, not much to separate them, and we are mighty close to a sunset, I think, at this finish line.
Yeah, I think we might be getting that sun going down right as we finish this race. This rate. Wire really killed them on braking into the corkscrew that time. The others will need to take note of that.
No, I'm looking over our point standings as we came into this round, as we keep watching the on-track action, little defensive from all involved. Your top three, Mark McCormick, Jihal Liu, Alex Albert, not present. John Hurley, fourth in the standings. He's out here today, maybe not having his biggest run ever. Fifth place, Justin Hall, I think is in Utah or something, he said. John Wilding, sixth in the standings coming into this, is on for a pretty good points payday potentially.
Yeah, he could be looking at second place after all's said and done here today, depending on how things finish here. This lead group has suddenly found just an ounce of consistency where there wasn't much before, and they're keeping a gap between themselves. Late turn in there from Robertson. A little bit of a run for Nick.
You can see almost in real time the thought process from Nick Love. Left-hand side, right-hand side, do I break in line with him? What do I do? And he's still got to worry about Tim Wire there. He's thinking, okay, I'll take a different line here. Just trying to do something different, thinking about how he's going to get around. Like the Beach Boys.
It's a good thing you jumped in as early as you did, because I was going to sing it.
Well, I don't think we've got licensing for that, but they all run a little wide off the exit. And Carl Robertson stays ahead, but you've seen he's worried and he's watching, and he seems to break in a line pointing towards the apex and turn in a little early, if anything, to just dissuade. Does it again. Dissuade Love from trying to get down the inside there, but I'm not sure it's the fastest way around, and it's almost bumper to bumper to bumper.
And I'm noting that Cossack and Butler just ahead for third and fourth. We're also starting to get a little closer together. Not enough for a battle to happen yet, but there's one brewing. We might see that before the end of the race. Meanwhile, these guys are giving us what we desire with a battle here for fourth, fifth, and sixth between them. Sorry, that's fifth, sixth, and seventh between them.
Say so. Robertson's got a little more room to breathe than he's had before. Doesn't need to be so worried about what's going on behind him and can maybe try to settle in. Track still cooling off a little bit. It didn't start particularly hot. It's been just right all through the race.
Right on the limit through the bottom of the course through there, but I think all of them got through clean.
Three laps to go for your leader as he crosses the line. This next group about to cross the line too.
Very interesting seeing the different approaches here. Tim Wire, for example, is a rally car and just went all four wheels off on the next to the last turn. But no, more seriously, Nick Love has got a bit of a run here because Kyle Robertson kind of takes a really straight line over the apex of the final curve. And Love, he kind of curves it in a little bit more around the outside here.
Worked for him before, but not this time. When he was a bit further up alongside, he could go around the outside of the hairpin, get the inside for the next. Did that on Wire, but it didn't work this time.
Time for a couple more of those, though, I gotta say. In case you were wondering, McNeil, Cubitt, and now Patterson are still going hard for 14th, 15th, and 16th, but we'll keep our eyes up on the front of the field here.
Yeah, space is out for the top four. Wilding and Butler no longer together. Wilding in pursuit of that race lead, but running out of time and without enough pace deficit to catch Gabler at the minute. Cossack's had to back off, and I wonder if it's because he's a little short on fuel, or maybe just overstepped the mark here or there. It means this is the closest, highest placed battle between Robertson, who can't shake Love, and the two of them can't shake Tim Wire.
Very different driving styles too from these two. It's really interesting to watch. They're both making speed different ways. Say Nick Love's getting to the throttle earlier consistently, but Robertson really seems to be getting the car rotated and rolling a little bit higher speed to the apex than Love is.
Two to go. 2 more laps, I think.
Sounds about right to me.
I love looks the other way.
Yeah, and Robertson is real close, but he closes the door. We'll see though. Nicholas Love's been on the receiving end of a few taps today. Maybe he'll be doling one out in a bit here. And Wire just waiting to play spoiler once they finally decide to commit to a battle here.
As always, different lines, and I think you see that again when they get to the corkscrew, which they will shortly. Love, a lot of speed, a little too much curb, immediately to the left-hand side for Kyle Robertson. He sees that Nick Love's coming, and he's thinking, you're not going to get down the inside of the corkscrew on me. So they break different ways. Little lock-up from Robertson. Holds the line. Norman's on pit lane for the second time. Did he short fuel, or has he had an incident? But it's nothing between Robertson and Love. Minute 30 on the clock as Gabler crosses the line, so he will take the white flag, and it will be one more lap of Laguna Seca.
Orlando Harrell, not battling with anyone, has just launched it off the corkscrew that time by. He recovers, and he'll be continuing on. And McNeil and Cubitt and Patterson are all still battling and banging doors on the back half of the track as well. Things are getting spicy all over.
Big cover in the battle for 5th place. Robertson knew it's the last lap and he's got to defend like hell. It keeps Love right there, keeps Wire right there.
This is where that consistency comes in. No mistakes allowed on the final lap.
You'd be racking your brain in Nick Love's seat. Where do I get this guy wrong-footed? Where do I get around him? Is it here? Is he going to keep the nose in? Oh, he doesn't have enough overlap. And Robertson says, don't you dare think about down the inside here. Again, it'll have him in a compromised and uncomfortable place as they then go up the hill. Love over the bits a little bit.
Gabler will be crossing the finish line easily with Wilding and Butler not far behind to take the top 3, but we'll keep our eyes on this battle for 5th place.
Yeah, out of that final corner goes Gabler, and he is going to take the win. Front row start. Hardly a mistake all the way through, and a well-deserved ChampCar iRacing Series win for Gabler. Oh, it's get the cameras out, but Love's not going to be close enough. Kyle Robertson just holds on, and Tim Wire runs it off the road in the background. Wilding and Butler, the teammates completing the podium up in front of this, though.
Great battle there. Hurley and Putra have now had a little bit of contact on the final lap, unfortunately, so not all the battles ending cleanly. Come through the corkscrew, and Saputra tries to get up the inside, but touches the dirt, and the
Hurley's out of fuel?
Hurley got smacked into the wall real hard. I think, I don't know if that car's still driving straight.
I think once it crosses the line, it won't. I think he's looking for a wall to put it in.
Yeah, tough race for him. A couple contact incidents, and neither one really his fault, but that's how it goes sometimes. And I'm watching McNeil as he comes around the final corner. He's managed to hold off Cubitt and Patterson and take the 14th position, 13th position for him as he crosses the line. Lucky number 13, his first time out. Great racing, everyone.
Yeah, something for everyone up and down the field, and a good win for Ian Gabler. You notice his lead diminished down to 2.6 seconds at the end, as I think he just measured it out, kept it on track, and John Wilding tried to hunt him down, but that is tough to do in these cars.
Someone tell Gabler he can only do donuts in reverse in a front-wheel drive car. Oh, he's got that under control.
Oh, he's trying something. Yeah, I think that works. headlights on into the darkness. And for Gabler, I do believe that it'd be his first ChampCar iRacing Series win, and well deserved at it too.
Yeah, I think so. That was really well done.
Sun sets on Laguna Seca. Sun sets on round 9 of the ChampCar iRacing Series. Let's run down the order. Ian Gabler, your winner. Podium completed by John Wilding and Jordan Butler. Pole setter Andrew Cosick up and down the field a little bit. Finishes in 4th in the end. Then you've got Kyle Robertson. What a great battle he had there with Nick Love and Tim Wire. Takes us down to 7th place. And then Charles Kowalczyk, Orlando Harrell, and Patrick Pursley for the top 10. Then Sean Saputra, John Hurley, very slow last lap for Hurley with the battle he had back and forth there. And then Darren McNeil Jr., Jared Cubitt, Jonathan Patterson, Aaron Thorpe, Jason Fianiak, and David Palermo. 18 cars finishing on the lead lap, even around Laguna Seca. 1 lap down for David Warden and Lee Mullerman, and 2 laps down for Alan Wells. But everyone who saw the green flag saw the checker.
Yeah, real great stuff to see. And there was battles happening all the way up and down the grid. And honestly, even by the end, only a few cars off the lead lap really stayed tight up at the front.
Well, we got them all, Devon. So how about we go 3rd, 2nd, 1st? I'm going to grab you, Jordan Butler.
Jordan, great race out there and great showing from the Haynes, level 1 racing team today, right?
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm just showing off my best side.
But seriousness, that was a great race from you two. It looked like you two were battling with Cossack and some other names up there a little bit at the start, and then sort of found yourselves a little bit of a groove in the second half.
Yeah, I got a little bit tight there. It was a big pack of us racing pretty good. I didn't actually have that much practice. I was actually kind of warming up in the first couple laps of the race, but I kind of found my groove there by about the pit stop, and then me and Wilding, we kind of worked together a little bit to kind of pull away from the rest of the guys and get a comfortable podium for us.
Definitely looked like there was maybe some team driving going on. I wondered on the way up to 6 or 7 one time, I think I saw you pull over and maybe let Wilding by. Was that team orders or just letting the guy with the pace lead the way?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Wilding, he had a little bit of pace on me, and I figured rather than hold him up, I'll just stay behind him, just follow his lines, take my tires a little easier, and just let him lead, and then we could probably pull away from Cossack behind. So there was definitely a little strategy there because I knew that he had the pace on me. I didn't want to hold him up.
Good stuff. Any regrets when Cossack started to get a little closer to you?
I had one slowdown with maybe 5 laps to go, and my 2.5 second lead turned into a 1 second lead, and that got a little scary there at the end. But I pulled back my lead a little bit, so happy to come away with 3rd.
If my records are correct, I believe this is your first time on the podium, so congratulations and a great showing tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And a little surprising since I just walked in here eating my dinner with about half hour left in qualifying, and sure enough, it's one of the best races of the year.
Crazy things happen in motorsports. Thanks for coming out, man. Anyone you need to thank today?
I would, like to thank my mom for bringing me here, and of course my great teammate John Wilding, who is in front of me on the podium here.
Cheers.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Devon, I can't help but feel maybe we should have grabbed both of them at once, but then John Wilding, 2nd. Congrats.
Thanks, man. I after meeting you at Sebring, David, I made it a point. I had to get on the podium so we could hang out again.
Well, yeah, both of you guys met me at Sebring, both of you guys on the podium. I'll DM you my bank details and you can book my flights for next year.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love it. Hopefully you have fun.
Hopefully you guys had fun today. You were both, mingling all the way up and down in the top 5 there. Talk us through then the strategy, because you could have pitted lap 1 and fueled this thing to get home, but we saw some tires here, no tires there. What did you and Jordan end up doing?
Well, thankfully, the everybody that runs this league is so friendly, and we didn't do the practice race last week, so I hopped on the forums and asked if people took tires and whatnot, and Andrew Kostic was friendly enough to say, nope, just fuel, no tires. So we kind of knew what to do, and we basically just, we just kind of winged it tonight, and it all worked out. I guess we adapted to the cars pretty well. We discussed pitting earlier, but it looked like we might run into traffic if we did that. So we just stayed out till the car was on empty and took fuel only. Didn't have the best stop. Ian Gabler and Kostic both jumped us in the pits, but yeah, it worked out in the end. So it's just a main strategy of not get that slowdown penalty in the corkscrew.
Yeah, we saw a few do that. Any other difficult corners around here? I mean, the elevation is known to be severe at Laguna Seca.
Absolutely, yeah. The trickiest corners for me are really the second and third corners because they have that big old sausage in them, and I tend to try to do a tight apex, and the sausage just messes up my line. So that's the biggest challenge for me is just staying off those sausage curves because it really upsets the Jetta. But yeah, we kept it clean, and congrats to Ian. He had a phenomenal race, and Andrew Kostic was real fast. It was just a lot of fun tonight, man. Great league. Thanks again.
Would you like some good news?
Yes, sir.
Well, I've just refreshed the standings, and you entered this race 6th in the championship standings, but with no McCormick, Alex Albert, Jihao Lu, or Justin Hall. You've gone from 6th to now 3rd in the standings.
Killer. Well, we'll have to maybe I'll have to put some more practice in and see if I can keep up with those guys. Those guys are super fast, so it's hard to keep up with those guys over the course of an hour or two. But we'll see what happens. We got a lot of races left. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think we are just 2 weeks until the 2-hour enduro at VIR. Is that one that's going to favor you guys in the 3rd gen Miata?
I think so. Jordan and
I mean, you are Miata guys.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Jordan and I really like that car. Where we're at a disadvantage is we don't have a manual gearbox, so we still kind of stick with the automatic. So we're at a little bit of a disadvantage with shifting, but it's a long race, and we'll just see what happens.
Perfect race driver explanation of the situation. Look forward to seeing you then.
Pleasure, man. Thanks again for having us.
Well, Devin, let's move one more step up the podium because I'm sure you've got lots to talk about with our race winner, Ian Gabler.
Well, you'd think there'd be a whole bunch to talk about with the guy, but he lines up on the front row and then drives the way for the victory. A dominating performance today from Ian.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate the compliments. I do want to give a shout out to Andrew, though. Taking pole, I felt so bad when he had his incident in the corkscrew because he had great pace tonight.
You had great pace yourself. There were a few moments there. We thought after Cossack kind of short fueled in the pit stop there that maybe the pack would be coming up on you, but you drove a real consistent race today. By my count, only 7 incidents, and everyone else in the top 10 was double digits.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I noticed a lot of the tracks, sometimes there's a faster line when you gather an incident point or two, but I just didn't find it there. The clean line seemed to be the fastest for me tonight.
Well, I guess there wasn't a ton of drama for you tonight. Any stories you'd like to share from the way out in front review?
Well, I can tell you it didn't feel like it. I'm not typically leading the race, so I was certainly sweating, even though I had maybe 3 to 4 second gap on the guys. I wasn't necessarily pulling away from them. And when you have that clean open air, it's pretty easy to get in your own head. So I was trying to just stay consistent and just keep putting laps down.
Well, props to you. It was really impressive performance and a great way to secure your first win today. Got to feel good.
It does. And the practice race last week, Mark was there, and I was racing nose to tail with him, so I was really excited going into this week. Unfortunate, some of the other top guys weren't able to make it out tonight, but I was very excited with that win.
Hey man, they all count on the score sheet. Props to you, and you'll be happy to hear that after that performance, you're all the way up to fourth in the points here. So just off the podium, and only 2 points behind Wilding. So you guys got more of a shot than you might think.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep the summitracing.com Jetta fueled up and moving forward.
Anyone else you need to thank today?
I think that's it tonight. You guys, of course, for putting on a great program.
It's a pleasure, and thanks for putting on a good show.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Well, Haynes, that's that.
Yeah, that does it for the race. That does it for the podium interviews. And, different names up front than maybe we've had, missing all of our previous champions. But it was not a bad race. And everyone who showed up, I think, got some racing to do on their Wednesday night. And we are not far away from the next round, round 10 at VIR Full, our 2-hour enduro. Our ChampCar iRacing Series attempt at paying homage to the upcoming VIR 24, always a much looked forward to race in the ChampCar endurance season as well. So we hope you'll join us for that one on HJBC. Subscribe if you want to follow the live broadcast of that. The three of us will be back, and I think it's a car and a track combination that should draw plenty out of the woodwork, including some of our top drivers and championship leaders. Well done to everyone who raced today, because all of them completed the race and all of them are one step closer to that prize to be drawn out of the hat as well. I think that's one thing that everyone can pat themselves on the back for today, is they are a step closer to being a good chance at a very, very valuable prize. We hope you'll join us in 2 weeks' time for the round 10 of the ChampCar iRacing series. And if you want to race with us, it is never too late to join. Head to forum.champcar.org. The iRacing section is right up the top there with the schedule, with all the information you need to join and come racing with us. Even if you've never been on iRacing before, there's all the tips that you might need to come race with us and join us on the sim. We hope you do that. From David Haynes, from Devin Peters, from Michael Derby, that's all we've got for you from Laguna Seca. This has been round 9 of the ChampCar iRacing series in 2022. See you at VIR.